Now Greg's got it.
Yeah. We got Geoff from Brewgooders. It's a podcast, a bunch of people drinking, reading comics, stuff like that. And he also has an anthology on Kickstarter. This podcast doesn't really talk about the Kickstarters as much. We kind of do that at the end. Usually we have other topics that we talk about, like whatever we come up with. Before we started recording, we were talking about imposter syndrome. So we can talk about that. And, then we'll just branch off into other crazy stuff. So what's going on, Geoff?
Yeah, how's it going? Yeah, imposter syndrome's like the biggest thing ever, isn't it? Like, I remember having a work appraisal a couple of years ago with my line manager and saying to him, I still feel like I've been doing the job for about a year, and I was like, I still feel like I've kind of tricked my way into the front door. And like, he was like, yeah, we all feel like that. He's like, I've been doing the job for 25 years. And he's like, I still feel like that. He's like, it's like you're just waiting for somebody to call you out on your bill, So like, but yeah, I think we all have it. That was definitely quite an interesting conversation we were having earlier.
Yeah, and like,
I've been selling comics all weekend, and have literally spent a large portion of this week with one of my friends who's a salesman for Heineken. Don't know, do you guys get Heineken over there?
Yep, yeah, we get Heineken.
Yeah, it's so he's like an area salesman for Heineken. I think he goes on behalf of the brewery to pubs and and tries and bars and tries and sorts out deals. And he was saying that so he's been teaching me sort of marketing techniques for working on a comic book stall and about thinking, and again, that whole imposter thing, feeling like, I don't feel comfortable doing this. Like, I don't like sort of more assertive selling, like having a book and putting it in a customer's hand and being like, this is my thing. Because then, there's a rather than just pointing to the thing on the table, like giving it to them and being like, have a look. And
just grunting.
Because they have to put it down. So they have to look at it because it's in their hand. And if they don't if they just put it down after you give it to them, they don't look like a nice person. But then you're pushing that imposter syndrome onto somebody else, aren't you? Because then they've got to pretend to know what a comic book is, and be like, yeah, that's good, and then try and put it down. But totally.
Yeah, there's a lot of Facebook groups that talk about imposter syndrome. Just because I just recently saw one a couple of days ago from. He was actually an inker on a couple of our comics. Sean Barber. I don't know how you say his last name. I can still not say his last name.
Sean Barber.
Yeah. And he just talks about having imposter syndrome and he doesn't think he is that good and whatever. I'm like, what? You've done something. Shut up. I feel like that sometimes too. And we've put out I guess now it'll be 7 comics. Because Mittens is going to come out soon in August. So there's that. But yeah, everybody gets that way. Yeah.
I think I want to say congratulations on Mittens, man. That comic looks super cool, and you've got ages left on it, haven't you? It's totally smashed its target.
Yeah, still 25 days to go on July 24th. So there's 25 days. So there's still a while to go, and we are almost gonna get we're very close to the third and final stretch goal. It's not the final; it's just the final right now until Josh gets back from vacation.
Also, you know what else is awesome too? I was on a video call in a networking group, and I ended up telling them oh yeah, I just saw an email that we got put in the the postie said we got tagged as projects we love, and all I had to do to find it, I didn't even log in. I'm curious if I can just find it. I went to comic books worldwide, and it was number 10.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh.
So if you are anywhere in the world and just look up comic books under what's it called, Kickstarter. So if you just go to Discover, go to comic books, and then go like just let it do its like the normal. What is it? Like it says magic or whatever, like the normal sorting. It's project number 10. So yeah, I'm actually curious how I could still that high.
Discover Worldwide Comics, yeah.
Yeah, so I went to was it Comics and Illustrations, Explore Comics, and then Earth. Oh, it's number 9. They moved up one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice. And they're like, "What the hell, Schenectady?"
So right, talk me through this. Then you go on Google. I'm on Google. How do I find what you're looking at?
Oh, so just go to if you go to Kickstarter first. So if you go to Kickstarter,
okay, yeah.
And then, let's say, so you go to Kickstarter. On the top, it says Comics and Illustrations.
Wait, have you clicked Discover, yeah?
Yeah.
But,
Oh, no.
No, if you just go to Kickstarter on the top, Comics and Illustration. Right under that, it says Explore Comics. So there's a sign that says Comics Illustration. Then there's 2 blue buttons. One of them says Explore Comics.
Yes.
If you just click on that and then scroll down, it's number 9.
Oh, okay. Of
You see it?
21,954 projects.
Does it come up number 9 for you as well?
1, 2, yeah, number 9.
Nice.
Wow.
Greg, you're coming up worldwide.
Of just under 22,000 projects.
That's
amazing. That is crazy. That's amazing. I'm now having to look for my Kickstarter. I'll be like,
we gotta add that Project We Love banner on our thumbnail.
yeah.
Wow.
Does the Project We Love banner have an effect on?
Yes, they push you into different discovery outlets. They'll email you out randomly. So, like people that are signed up for the Kickstarter newsletters, they'll be like, "Hey, you've backed comic books before. Here's another project we love," and they'll actually put you in there. So, like, yeah, you get like free marketing if you get tagged with projects we love.
That's really cool. There's I'm having a look at it. There's some amazing comics in that list. Not too far down from you guys, there is The Hordes of Surrey by Dave Wimblett, which is a personal favorite. He's a good guy, a friend of mine. And then you've got who else you got? This comic is haunted. This comic is haunted. This comic is haunted by the guys at the 77, and then The Legend of La Mariposa. Vulcan's Challenge is up there as well. All comics we love, and they're all amazing. So yeah, you guys are in good.
We're above Tales of Carnival Row, which is a show.
Yeah.
Where's that? Where's Tales of Carnival? Oh, I see it. Yeah.
Yeah, like Orlando Bloom, and so that's pretty crazy.
How's that Imposter Syndrome doing?
Yeah. Unicorn, Vampire Hunter. Well, he's got a shit ton of money, but he's 2 above us. I was
about to say the other interesting thing too is like we didn't even ask for that much. Like if you look at everyone else above and below us, we're like one of the lowest requests, and so we don't even have like a massive amount. It's just I think it's just because the number of backers and how quick it happened. Because if you look at everybody else, like 6 hours to go, 17 days to go, Greg's still at 25 days to go.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. Congratulations again. Like that's absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
I'm now into the hundreds, and I still can't find my book. So yeah.
Greg, we gotta put that sticker on it. See how a couple of them put the sticker on their thumbnail?
Yeah, we gotta do that.
Yeah, we gotta get the Projects We Love Kickstarter sticker.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Brewgooders is at 518, so out of 1799. So that's getting there. You have 57 days to go. What made you want to do a 60-day campaign or some crazy thing?
A couple of things actually. We've got a couple of unfinished contributors who are working. They've got a wee bit to go, and they'd asked for an extra couple of weeks. So we thought that would be quite good for marketing, from a marketing perspective, and that there's little bumps because we've got 2 relatively very well respected, I should say, Scottish comic writers and creators that are putting in stories, and we've still got our cover to come in the next couple of weeks as well. So I thought, given it 60 days, would give it enough to bump it up. I was speaking to Ben O'Grady this morning, who is he's the editor of the Scott Snyder writing group anthology.
Oh, yeah.
and he was saying that actually he'd asked the same question. He's like, "What made you go for 60?" Because apparently, if you look at it on a comparative level, 30-day campaigns do as well as 60-day campaigns, which I wasn't aware of. That's just a metric I hadn't read. So,
I never wanted
Yeah.
to run 60-day campaigns.
I was gonna say, yeah, Greg, we should probably add that to our 21 list. Remember, I told you I'm building that out. We have a blog on our podcast called the 21 the 21 like Kickstarter checklist. What is it? Step checklist
Steps. Yeah.
to launch into Kickstarter, and basically it's all the stuff that we learned from how to launch a product, and then we basically tried to use those same details in running a Kickstarter. We found a couple things different, and so we changed up the article to for running Kickstarters. And that's some of the stuff I've learned, like just doing research. Like, they'll tell you too, like when you start to like set up the Kickstarter, like if you run a video, then you're like 80% more likely to get funded because 80% of the funded comics have videos. Right. So little details like that. So we try to like collect all that information. And one of them was, I do remember coming across I was reading their documents. That's the other thing too. Like it's, you're not the only one. Like tons of people, they'll launch a Kickstarter. Greg did this too. He launched 3 before he finally, took some advice. But like there's a bunch of documents on their website that'll tell you like how to run the best Kickstarter. Yeah. And like nobody reads them. So it's funny, but one of the things
I've done like quite a bit of reading, but what I have found is what I'm always learning, and that's what I love about like on our podcast is speaking to creators, because it's getting all these bits and pieces, and everybody's got an experience in that. It's really cool that you've got a document that kind of is pulling those stuff together.
Yeah, because like I think the biggest problem is that Kickstarter's documentation, like I'll admit, like even if you have read it, like it's all over the place. Like some of the like that detail about the 80% of Kickstarters or 80% of the funded Kickstarters have videos. That's only when you're creating it. It's not even in their blog or their documents for whatever reason. It's only like in the so some of the stuff you literally only learn in the middle of creating your, Kickstarter, which is hilarious. So yeah, some of that stuff I've been trying to like pull in together into this article that Greg started, and just like I wanted to like get some of those notes because I remember coming across the 30 and 60-day one. I think the biggest reason too is that scarcity is a strategy, right? Like it's a limited window, so you got 30 days to donate. You don't get any more. Basically, with 60 days you have more time to collect money, but with 30 days you have the advantage of scarcity. And so because of that, they roughly get around the same amount of income. And I think if you can even do like 15-day ones, and it's only like a little bit less than 30.
Yeah, I was looking at it my former campaigns. What's scary about this one is it's the one that I've never done a campaign for this much money. I say like this much money. It's 1,499. Don't know why it's that number because I actually did type in. I'm sure I typed in 1,500, but 1,499s is our goal. Normally I sit much lower because it's when I create books. When I create books, I always try and keep them. I like to make sure I've done pretty much everything before I go to Kickstarter. I know there's different, everyone's got their own strategies and different people do it differently, and some people do things like they'll put their they're looking for the Kickstarter to pay for quite a large proportion of production, whether it be like an artist or a cover artist fee, or a letterer fee or whatever. Whereas I like to try and make sure my comics are finished, and this is done. It's ready to go, bar a couple of extra contributions. But everybody that's contributed has they have come in and produced their work already. So this is just kind of covering things like publishing, getting the print running that done. But yeah, traditionally when I do a Kickstarter, it's just much lower. It's maybe only 300 or 400, and it's just to cover postage, printing and postage. So I don't know if I regret the 60-day thing yet. I'm like, oh, there's going to be,
60 days to regret it.
No, just and like between days, I want to say between days 20 and 40, like there is that ability to be forgotten in the shuffle. So it's trying to, I've got a target of where I want like the Kickstarter to be at certain stages within the process, and I think we're just over my my targets. But yeah, any boost is appreciated. So and yeah, that's why I'm coming on podcast to blather about it and chat to folk and just like do podcasts anyway. Anytime I get in touch with Greg, it's always a pleasant experience. So I'm like, so.
Yeah, I was just gonna say this right here, like you said about that being forgotten. I don't remember where I got this graph. Let's see. Oh, it's from Kickstarter. Yeah, this is like the typical bell curve. It's like an inverse bell curve, I guess, of funding. Yeah, like you get most of your funding in the beginning. That's why they say if you don't get your Kickstarter funded in the first 3 days, I'd imagine for 60 days, it's probably the first 6 days. Or if you're not funded, sorry, if you don't get 30% of the funding for your Kickstarter in the first 3 days, the likelihood you will get funded is drastically reduced. And I guarantee, and the reason that's probably a general rule, but the important thing is because Kickstarter is aware of that, they actually likely promote people who get to 30% in the first 3 days. Hence, Greg's mittens getting onto the projects we love because it was 90% funded in 2 days, right? So on the third day, it was already funded. They're going to start pushing it because the thing about Kickstarter, like they want people to love the projects on their platform. And if they see something get funded in 3 days, they're like, holy crap, like we should really promote this because people like this. And so, yeah, I just wanted to show you that this is like a very important bell curve. And so because of that, most of the marketing you should do for a Kickstarter should happen before the Kickstarter so that the day of launch, there's people waiting to give you money. And then right after this drop-off point, depending on how many days, if you're doing 30 days, you should have a follow-up probably once a week for the whole month, right? You should have a big follow-up. Like you can obviously post every day on social media, but people are going to get numb to that. So maybe an email blast once a week, right? And if you're doing a 60-day one, maybe once every 2 weeks, so that like it might simmer down a little bit, and then you can pick it back up, and you just keep doing that. You can do clever stuff like trying to figure out, okay, where's the majority of my audience? Maybe I send it out on payday, right? Like if Friday's a normal payday for whatever country you're in, then send it out for that, right? So little details like that. But yeah, I just wanted to show that because I remember this graph.
It's fascinating stuff. Like I don't know. We talk about this on our show. Oh, I've logged on to something. Yeah. Sorry.
I'm sure like static. I was like, what? I thought it was like water boiling for a second.
No, it's the static from your Chronicles of Horror advert on the SeerNova YouTube. No, so yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting what you're saying about payday and stuff. Like actually, it's quite if you keep falling back into that sort of theme of imposter syndrome. Sometimes feel like with this, like you're not doing it right, but then like when somebody says something like, Dylan, you're saying there about payday, that's like that's this Friday in Scotland for public services. So so I've got a marketing box of tricks ready for Thursday, Friday this week for that very reason. And I don't know if I suppose we've got our podcast as well, and we've got lots of like our team do lots and lots of conventions between us. So I don't know. I'm hoping that it's just going to take over, and there's going to be lots of little spikes.
So something else like I would consider too is like you just said, you're doing something Thursday, Friday for payday. I think a lot of the stuff that people do when it works, it just makes sense, but they don't know why it makes sense. As a marketer, like my goal is to figure out why it makes sense to see if I can replicate it. And so in this case, like you're saying, like, oh, Thursdays and Fridays seem to work really well. I don't even know if you knew it's because of payday that's probably the reason, but that's I have to make that assumption so I can test that theory, because maybe some people get paid on Monday, right? Like depending on who they are. Or maybe it's once a month, and I really, really want to push on like the 1st or the 15th. If it's the twice a month, some people get paid on the 1st and the 15th. So those are different things to think about. And another little thing too is, and this is true for any form of marketing, no matter what type of marketing you do, the number one thing that you need to do is reduce friction. So for example, if you're at a convention and you're like, yeah, just go to Kickstarter, then go to my page, then go to this. Nah. Get a QR code that goes right to your page.
Yeah, totally.
Problem solved. Like, you know what I mean? Like, do not make it. So, like, if I want to give you money, don't make it hard. Like, I have a friend of mine who he does like SEO work, And the other day I was like, hey, I got a client. He doesn't need a massive amount of SEO work. He needs, very little stuff. He's focused on other stuff. But like, if I wanted you to just do an audit, like what would that cost? And he's like, oh, I don't know. I would do this. I would do this. Like, dude, I'm trying to give you money. Figure out how to take it. You know what I mean? Like, don't make me figure out how to give it to you. You figure out how to take it from me. I've already told you I want to give it to you. Like, the Fry from Futurama. Shut up and take my money. That's what you want people to get to.
That's totally interesting. That's a fascinating tip as well. I had a table at a Comic-Con yesterday, a Comic-Con market in my hometown, and had that issue about friction. The area of town we were in had no Wi-Fi. Like it was in the cavern area of like a shopping center. So there was no Wi-Fi. So a lot of the table exhibitors were struggling with their their contactless card-based transactions, and
that's why you get a QR code and you hand it to them so they can walk away with it.
Yeah, so
right? Print them out, right? Like that's what I'm saying. You like that's the stuff you think about. Like one thing. So I work with artists and management for like hip hop artists. And where did I put it? There it is. And
that's something the coolest sentence I think I've ever heard a human say.
What?
I'm marketing for hip hop artists.
Oh yeah, no, I have a record label where we do that, and we have an artist management company where we manage 2 different artists. And one of the key men, who's like the person responsible for a specific artist, I told him the other day, I'm like, your phone can never die, right? You might need like what's it called, Venmo or Cash App, because the artist you're working with is selling some merchandise, and his phone dies. So you know what you do? You get this 15,000 milliamp hour backup power that'll charge your phone 8 times, right? That's what you do. Like you figure out like it's like, oh, this is $70, cool. Like this is gonna last at least, I don't know, like this one I got 5 years ago. It's still working. It's got a solar cell on the top of it. Worst case scenario, I could charge it in the sun. You know what I mean? But the whole idea is like you figure out how to make sure there is no obstacle to you succeeding, right? Because there's the Murphy's Law, like something's gonna go wrong, right? Something will inevitably go wrong. Oh yeah, the QR code on shirts, for real. I still remember the first person this was so funny, Greg. I swear to God, last night I found a business card for one of my first clients in marketing. Where'd I put it? Oh dang, I just put it here like last night. There it is. It was called Healthplex Fitness Center. It's in Clifton Park, New York. And I was just looking them up because I had their card, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Let me see how they're doing. And I still remember that the first QR code I ever saw used in marketing was a guy who printed it on the back of his shirt. Yeah. And it was back in like 2011, maybe, like way before anybody was using it. It was like right when it became popular to have it, but nobody knew how to use it. And like when you had your phone, the camera didn't scan it yet. You had to have a special app to scan QR codes, and now your phone camera can just scan them. Yeah, it's funny. Like it's definitely a interesting time because basically because the world locked down, everyone had to figure out like how do we optimize digital? How do we get rid of friction? And QR codes was the magic bullet that was sitting in the wings this whole time. It's been around for over a decade, and no one was using it, and now everyone's using it. So people are used to it now. It's one of those things where like you could put it on shirts, you could put it on billboards. The cool thing too, and this is only in the last few months, or maybe the last 6 months. You used to have to scan it in the camera app, and now you could take a picture, and even the iPhone will scan. You could click on the QR code in an image that you already took the picture of. So like now, like you could even have like again, worst case scenario, you didn't print enough of these out, keep one and be like, oh, just take a picture of this, and later you could open it and click on the link.
Yeah. So Victor Dandridge was actually at like San Diego Comic-Con, and he had that on his shirt. And Kyron Silva said that he actually did that with his shirt at a Comic-Con or whatever. But he had to wear a skin tight shirt under it, so like it wouldn't fold or something or crease, because when someone's trying to take like a picture of it or scan it, they couldn't scan it because it was folded or whatever.
Oh yeah, that's actually super important. This is actually something I learned. It cannot be bent, like rounded, because I actually found a bunch of people that hung them on posters around town for like shows, and if you try to scan them, they won't work. So they do have to be flat. So again, figuring all that stuff out. But yeah, that was something interesting I found, is that if you wrap them or bend them, they don't work. They have to be flat. So that was one of the things that happened with that guy with the shirt when I first met him back in 2011. Is I tried to scan it with this special app and it wouldn't scan. He's like, "Oh, 1 second, they just gotta like pull it flat." He's like trying to straighten it. So technology's not perfect yet, but it's still really cool. And then actually, speaking of which, there's actually another thing they have now too. My artist bought this. He gave it to me. I ended up not using it, so I gave it to the key man. We just gave him, and it's called the Dot. And it's like a little circle you can just stick on the back of your phone. It costs like $20, and literally you scan it near someone's phone, and it's got an NFC chip, a near field communication chip, and it will automatically send them to a web page that has all your contact information on it.
That's cool.
So you can create. So it's kind of like Linktree, like the app or the link where you go there and it's got all these other links. It's like that, except you just scan someone's phone and it'll add it. So like literally you take another phone and you go like this, or I guess if this is the phone with if this is the phone with the Dot, you literally just scan it near the phone somewhere and it'll pick up the Dot. So it's really cool.
That's cool.
Now I gotta find it.
You can just bring your dog and be like, "Look at this dog. If you want the dog to eat today, you should back my Kickstarter."
Yeah.
Stick a QR code on the back of her neck. So when you're like, "What's that?"
Oh, it's got a nice haircut. No, it's just a QR code.
Yeah, I just found it. Here it is. Let's see. Where's the share screen? Yeah, maybe we'll get sponsored by these guys or something. Yeah, so this is Dot. And there it is. See, it's really tiny. You can put it anywhere on your phone, and literally people will just scan it, and it'll pop up with the website. Oh, they got colored ones now too. Nice. Yeah, they also have a card too. Like if you don't want to stick it to your phone, then you can just get a card with a QR code on it. Similar thing. I think it also has the chip inside of it too. Yeah, it does. NFC.
I want to. Is it? We've got. I don't know if you guys got the same company. We've got Vistaprint over here, and it's like the go-to for really cheap, like just getting mass-produced stuff done. They're
really good for getting like posters and business cards, stuff like that. They also do like vinyl prints now too. They've been doing it for a while now, but they'll do like banners. Like you can get like 8 foot by 10 foot banners from them and stuff. So they've gotten pretty big.
That's cool. Yeah, it's just different ways of getting your message out there, right? It's there's certainly that thing with the connection. We were I was really lucky. I was in a bar last night with a friend, and he was asking me how I got on. I had 3 customers that wanted to buy my stuff and didn't have paper money, and my machine wasn't working, and I was like, "Oh no!" And they're like, "Oh, that's fine. Just put it aside, and I'll be back." And I'm like, "You know, you won't." But in fairness, all 3 of them came back, and I was like, "Oh, that's amazing." So
that's very cool.
Which was cool because it brought me over. It brought me into profit. So I don't know what you guys are. I don't know what you guys have as sort of targets for comic conventions, but certainly I found over here, if you can, if folk are buying your stuff and you don't if you don't leave the venue out of pocket, then it's been reasonably successful, and so it was good. Yeah.
Ironically, our first year that we were going to do conventions was the year there were no conventions. So basically we started in 2017 with like the launch of the site, and our first comic came out I think the end of that year or 2018. And then literally like we were like, okay, now that we've got enough comics, we've got the platform built out, we've got some followers on social media, we should go to a convention. Let's plan for 2020. And then oops. So, no, I definitely agree though. I think that if you can go to a convention and break even, you've basically got marketing and people are holding on to your stuff now. And you got networking, like you basically got a free networking and free marketing tool if you can break even. So like that's exactly it. That's perfect way to think about that.
There's actually I saw a post from I think it was yesterday. Russell Nolte. He was at San Diego Comic-Con. He does Ichabod Jones, I think is the name of the comic.
Greg, is that the guy I was just talking about the other day? I said a friend, someone I connected with said we should chat with, and then you're like, "Oh, I know him."
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
I know of him. We're not like friends or whatever.
Yeah, you just know who he is, though. Yeah.
Yeah. So he showed like how much he made at San Diego Comic-Con in 2019, and then he showed on a picture next to it how much he made this like the Thursday.
I'd imagine it was a lot more this year.
Less. It was less.
Less?
A lot less, because there's less people there, because people are like, oh, COVID, and we don't want to go outside anymore. So there's...
I didn't know there was less people this year. I figured that it would have been packed.
I just knew it was going to be absolutely insane.
That's what I thought, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to like share how much he made, but he made like
half?
Yeah, maybe like half. But
Jesus.
He also had to do lodging. So like a couple other people that commented on that post, like Caleb that does a Nook. It's like this cat book that's like set in World War II. That cat book, it's like this ghost book that's got a cat. He said that he's not gonna go to really any more big Comic-Cons that are like you actually have to like get a hotel or whatever. So he's gonna do like smaller ones that are like in Ohio, because that's where he is. So that's probably what we would do in the beginning, at least.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, honestly, if you've never gone to a convention before, I would not recommend going to like San Diego or New York or WonderCon or like Emerald City. Like that would be insane, because there's this really cool idea from a book called The Ultimate Sales Machine, and it's called the Dream 100. And the idea is like you come up with like a list of 100 people that would be like your ideal clients. Like let's say you're a lawyer, if you can get 10 solid clients, like you're perfect. So like you create a list of 100 of them, and you start from number 100 and work your way up to 1. Like you don't start with the best one and try to close it, right? You're not trying to close Coca-Cola as your client. You start off with RC Cola, right? Or like the local Kroger Price Chopper brand, right? So like you start with something much smaller, so that you can basically get trial runs. So yeah, doing like local conventions first, so that you know what it's like to deal with getting a table, forgetting your stuff at home, having to go back and get it, and realizing, oh wow, if I was across the country, I couldn't go back and get it, could I? So I better make a checklist of all the stuff that I'm going to need the next time I go to a convention. So things like that. Yeah, I definitely highly recommend against trying to go to some big convention. Like unless you got like some lucky Super Bowl ad, like what's it called, Death Wish Coffee, right? Like where they got like they went into a competition and they won and they got a Super Bowl ad. Like that's huge. Sure, then jump to San Diego because everyone knows your name and they want the novelty of this new product that got a Super Bowl ad. But outside of that, like there's very few reasons why you should ever go there. So. Yeah.
Yeah, so probably one of the first conventions we would do, even though I would like Dylan to be there, is like Saratoga Comic-Con, just because I don't think I could sell stuff by myself as well. So I wrote the book, all of them, but yeah.
I think you should maybe even add into the idea that you even if it's a small convention, you should do your homework on what kind of convention it is. I don't know. I imagine it's the same where you guys are, but we have like kind of like 3 or 4 different kinds of conventions in Scotland. Even if I just think about Scotland, we've got obviously your sort of standard Comic-Con event, or which is more like a bit like San Diego Comic-Con. It's more like a pop culture event rather than a cosplay event with and there's loads of toy stalls, and then you've got what I would kind of class as a more traditional comic convention, which is more geared towards the comic side of things. And you've got lots of creators and you've got lots of comic-y people there having panels and things, and then you've got we have like these marts, like, which is what I was at yesterday, and it was actually that was quite successful. But we have these marts that just visit different kind of shopping centers, and there's not really anything going on that's like it's not necessarily like a convention with events or panel discussions or workshop. It's more it's just geek and comic themed.
Yep. Yeah, this right here, this is These are Comic Cons that are all in New York. I found a website to find basically all of the Comic Cons that exist. And so we got all the ones that are in New York so that we could start doing them. I collected this a while ago, and these are ones that Greg would be able to go to. And if I can make it to New York, then I can go to. But essentially, these are like the 6 categories that I seem to have found. There's basically a standard Comic-Con that has like panels and events, things like that. There's anime cons, obviously just way more focused on anime, a lot of cosplay. There's toy cons, which are more like collectibles. Like if you're an indie comic trying to sell at a toy con, probably not the best.
Yeah.
If you're an artist and trying to get like connections, maybe. Then there's virtual conventions, obvious. There's like the Star Trek conventions, which that alone is like a whole separate thing, so obviously not related. And then there's fan events, which is much closer to what you were just saying, where like they don't have panels, they don't have stuff. It's kind of like just geek stuff, and that's more of what the fan events are. And so those are kind of the different style events that I've seen to have found, at least in New York.
The other one I would have added in there, the one that I've noticed, we've swap meets. I imagine you guys have got swap meets as well. But we have comic swap meets that are actually really popular in Scotland, but they're like, people are going for specific. So people are going there with like their long boxes of all their secondhand comics, and people are going there specifically to just get like. So I exhibited at one last year, and it was really cheap to get in. And I thought, oh, this is a really good deal. It's in the centre of Glasgow, which is the most densely populated area of Scotland. And I thought I did all my homework, but I was there with all my books that I've created, and I was there with my friend Colin, who had his books, but he also had a long box that was full of old war comics. And he made about 100 quid off his box of old war comics, and very little off his, independently created stuff. And there was there was one guy in particular I remember who was walking around the convention floor with a chair, and he would and a chair in one hand and like a folder in another, and he would like,
just sit and go through them. Yeah, that's awesome.
He's opened his folder, got the long box, and he had his list of what he was looking for. And so he came up to us and he was like, "Do you guys have Commando? Do you have anything from Commando in the 300s?" And then I had a wee bit of that yesterday. I had my old 2000 ADs with me, and I had about 2 or 3 customers who walked right past my independent stuff and were like, do you have anything sort of from the 70s of 2000 AD? And I'm like, I've got that one, and that one. I sold 3 2000 ADs and I got half of my money back on 3 comics. And then, the rest was like little bits and pieces, $1 here, a couple quid there for like secondhand Avenger stuff. But that's often what I've seen at the toy cons. Honestly, I should probably turn that into, instead of just toy, like collectible cons, because that's really what it is. Like when I say toy con, very often it's a collection of those long boxes and the toys. So it's like very often you'll have like all the Pop Funkos, or you'll have like old toys. Right, so because Pop Funkos are just like that, craze now. But outside of that, they'll have like old Godzilla toys. They'll have like old action figures, stuff like that, like collectibles, statuettes, things like that. Yeah, that's exactly what these are. It's like folk looking for back issues and stuff. So it's like folk going into each other's long boxes to find like Avenger 32 because they were, their newsagent didn't get that, or their comic shop had like a weird distribution issue that week, so they didn't get their comic, and just stuff like that. And
I want to call it Collector's Con. I'm just adding a new one.
The first Comic-Con that me and Dylan went to was
the Albany
Comic and Toy Show. So they had like all those Funko Pops, but they also had people like that were there selling comics.
You remember there was one indie comic creator that was there. The rest might have been indie comic creators, but they were selling like standard comics, and some of them were just like Marvel artists or something like that. But there was one indie comic creator there, and he was like put off into like the corner too. Like he was like, it was the funniest thing. We were like in a hotel. So this particular hotel has like a big center room where all the hotel rooms are like around the edge, and then the convention was held in the center. And this poor guy. He actually had really good art too. Like it was phenomenal. Like his comic was really cool. And his table was in like the little rock garden of one of the rooms. Like if you open one of the rooms to the hotel, to the right of it, there was just like a little cement trail that's filled with gravel, and they literally put his table like in the gravel. So like you had to like step onto the rocks to like get to his stuff.
That's outrageous. That's like a total kick in the teeth. You know what I mean?
It was so funny too, because like when you first walked in the convention, essentially if you took a right and then turned the corner, there's a hallway of like foods, and like there was that cupcake lady, stuff like that, like little things like that. And then
from him, there was the two cupcake ladies that they were really good.
They were awesome. Yeah, they were really good. I wish I could remember her name. I'd shout her out.
We talked about this. I had a table at Glasgow Comic Con this year, or sort of Acme, but it's based in Glasgow. It's one of the main conferences, and we did well enough. And we did a couple other guys in the podcast did some interviews for them, which was really good too. My friend David interviewed Frank Quietly, who did All Star Superman and stuff, and then my Colin, our other co-host, he hosted a panel on war comics because that's his total jam. And I managed to get an hour 15 minutes of Kevin Eastman's time. So we sort of gave that to the comic convention as you can put this in between. Here's an interview that you can put between panels while they're doing panel setups. So folks sitting waiting for the next panel, I've got something to watch. And that seemed to be really quite successful. So we've been asked back for a convention in September. But we spend quite a lot of time talking about the science of like where you're placed. So like you're saying, this guy getting dumped on the gravel is like a bit of a kick in the teeth. That's not very kind. But next to the muffin ladies, he's actually probably quite good real estate. When we were at Acme, they put us on the end of our row, which is quite good because folk have to turn past you to get to visit the other, hall. You're in a main follow space. But we were also directly opposite the coffee hut. So at certain times of the day, like lunchtime, 9 or 10 a.m., we noticed that there was these little, and then that 3 o'clock lull when everybody's like, oh, I've got 2 hours of a convention left, I need to go and get a coffee. We all of a sudden had folk all over our table, and it's like, and also you were saying about like, you were saying there, Dylan, about like not making your first convention massive. I've got a friend who, fair enough, like I wish I had this kind of assertiveness and belief in myself, thing about imposter syndrome. I've got a friend, Barry, who has no imposter syndrome, and he just does. He total goes for it, and fair play. But he took his bag and his suitcase and went to Miami Comic Con, one of the big. I think it's one of the major ones. A couple of years ago, like maybe the year before, the year before COVID. I don't know how big Miami Comic Con is, but it does sound quite impressive, particularly if you're from like.
When is it actually?
What's that?
When is the Miami Comic Con?
I don't know. I maybe even not even got the name of the convention right, but he went to a major convention in Miami. So this is a guy from Scotland jumping on a plane to do 3 days selling comics in Miami, and I was like, "Oh, that sounds amazing." I was going to do an interview for the podcast, and I was like, "How did you get on?" And he was like, "Well, they put me in like a weird corner." So like he's traveled all the way there, and then they've just popped him somewhere totally random, and he didn't make his money back. Far from it. He was like, I think his pipe dream was that he was going to be able to like put it against his airfare and he'd make enough money that he'd effectively got a free weekend in Miami, and I think that wasn't the case. But
yeah.
And it's just about, and he reckons it's because he was situated. He said he was situated in the far corner of an exhibition hall, and just natural, the way people walk round rooms, like they were just kind of cut in the corner that he was on. So he was like, it was interesting. We talk about that quite a lot on the podcast about like table distribution and where you are, and like even the wee convention I was at yesterday. When I told a friend I was doing it, he was like, try and get yourself next to this door, and he was telling me about it's my local shopping center, so he was able to tell me, and I knew what he was talking about. But he was like, if you're near that door, that's the closest door to the multi-story car park. So he's like, that's where most people will have to walk to get in and out of their cars. So and just stuff like that. It's quite interesting. So,
yeah, if you can get a map of the place and figure out where to ask for the right stuff, like doing a guerrilla marketing style where they might not see that as a good spot, and then you can find it, like definitely the way to go, because yeah, if you get like what they consider the premium spots, you're paying a premium price. But if you can find that spot that's like inconveniently near a door, right? Like, oh, I'm near the bathroom. That might suck. Or people have to walk past me because everyone has to go to the bathroom. Like, silly stuff like that. Especially if you're selling horror comics, maybe it'll play into it.
It's interesting. There's definitely weird science to it, isn't it? There's like there's rhythm and there's patterns that in the I don't know in the murkiness of it all you can kind of.
What was the Radisson Hotel? I've been trying to like find the what hotel that was at. That the Albany comic, because I'm looking through my like.
It was the Radisson, but it's closed because they didn't pay their taxes. Yep,
I remember. Yeah, there it is. I got the picture of me with Scorpion over here. Remember Scorpion, the guy who made his own freaking thing? Everyone say, let me. Yeah, this was awesome. I'm gonna share my screen. Oh, there it is. Yeah, this guy made his own stuff out of like paper mache, and it was like hardcore. It was awesome. That was our first rendition of the shirt too. That's when our shirt didn't have the white lettering.
That was cool.
Yeah, this is the first one, right? Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
The stairs and the room is right there. Because
this is the room.
Saratoga Comic-Con that we went to too.
Yeah, I still haven't found. I don't know if I took a picture of that other guy. I'm trying to see if I got the cupcakes too. Is there more? Oh yeah, somebody's birthday, Jolton Joe Sinnott. That's funny. I saw just a video I took of it. Can't believe I didn't take. I feel like I had to have taken pictures of those cupcakes, but like I don't see any pictures of the cupcakes.
There's also at Saratoga Comic Con, like this was like 2018, 2019, whenever we went. I think it was like 2018, maybe 2017. I don't know. There's this drink that's kind of like big now. It's an energy drink. It's called XS. I don't know like what that's what their logo is. It's XS and
XS maybe.
Are they big? Are they big now?
Yeah.
I remember I bought like a 24 pack from them.
But we met them at Saratoga Comic Con when they were nothing. They were just they were just starting, and then they got huge. They're not like Monster or anything, but they're like.
That's pretty good. I was at Food and Drink Fair when me and my wife started dating. I went to a Food and Drink Fair in Glasgow, and actually in the same hall that I was at, I was at a convention earlier this year for my own stuff. But Brewdog were there, and they're sort of I think they've got chains all over the place, including in the US. They've got a couple of bars in on the East Coast, but yeah, when we saw them, like you say, they were nothing. They were a microbrewery just trying to shift some of their beers but then their marketing was top notch. Their image was quite good. It's not very good at the moment. They're going through a bit of a hard time. But yeah, it's quite cool when you see these kind of organizations.
Yeah.
At the bottom.
My uncle, I went on vacation for like a week, last weekend or whatever. Not this past weekend, not the week before, to my grandma's condo in Lake Placid, and my uncle's like, "Oh, you have all those like fake companies in your video game or whatever in your comic universe. You can actually probably like go to a Comic-Con and just sell that stuff." And I was like, "Yeah." So like if we actually went to like a food beverage type thing instead, we could just sell like our drinks. Like we can make a hard cider and we can sell that. Be like, "Oh, if you want a comic book, we actually sell those." So here's a QR code. So.
There's a QR code. That's pretty cool. My friend Dave Cook, he's got a comic series which I think Netflix or the company that does it. What's that called? We Love Robots. Is that a thing? Is that what it's called?
That sounds very familiar.
Yeah.
There's like a Netflix anthology series called We Love Robots, or Love and Robots, or something along.
Yeah, Love and Robots.
But they've the company that behind them have picked up my friend's comic Killtopia. And are looking to do, but as part of their marketing, they've looked at things like he has Kaiju Cola as like the drink of choice.
Kaiju Cola, nice.
But he's had mock-up cans of that done, and folk have said the same thing. Folk are like, I would buy Kaiju Cola, and like, I don't know if you guys have got that, but we've got like in some of these sort of like comic book shop cafes, and we've got in Scotland, people, you can go in and you can buy Japanese and sort of Far Eastern sweets and Far Eastern fizzy
Yep.
drinks.
Yeah, we have Asian markets. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We've got
we also have its music store. Well, it's not really music anymore; it's merchandise, but it's called FYE, and they sell a bunch of like Japanese Mario, Nintendo drinks and stuff.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. We've
Yeah.
got a place like that in Edinburgh. It's exactly the same. It's like it's Donkey Kong Cola and stuff like that. It's actually really good stuff. So it's just full of sugar, isn't it? It's like it's rebranded Monster basically. I think it's the same sort of taste and like sugar content and stuff. But.
Yeah, I've seen those because like other than like the Asian markets that have a bunch of stuff from there, the ones that are like the cool branded stuff like the Donkey Kong, I've also seen at places like Five Below, which is like a place that they sell everything for like $5 or less, and they'll have like random I'm trying to remember what I saw last time I was there. Like they had like Sonic chili dogs, but like Sonic the Hedgehog chili dogs, right? Like gummies and stuff like that.
Awesome.
Yeah, like just little stuff like that was cool.
Yeah, there's a G Fuel that's Peach Ring, which is Sonic.
Delicious.
I actually drank that. Like,
oh, did you? Oh, you have the cans, right? Because I don't think we have the cans here yet.
that was okay.
Yeah. Do you have G Fuel over there?
No, we've not got G Fuel. I'd say that's.
Nah, G Fuel is so good. It's over there. Yeah, this is it's like a powdered energy drink, but you can get them in cans, like mixed already with carbonation. But yeah, Sonic Peach Rings. Shout out to G Fuel, sponsor us.
Speaking of, we're probably going to be starting our Twitch at some point in the near future.
We have
a Twitch.
I love that sort of stuff. The other thing that like I noticed we were talking about conventions and like branding and stuff is people that do like stickers. Do you know like these stalls are just like we were next to a group of people at the Glass Comic Con table we had. And I had quite an interesting conversation with the owner of the organization because they were saying, I went up and spoke to them and said, you guys were mobbed all weekend. Like folk were like, and like it's that annoying thing with the table next to you are so busy that like you're looking at the back of your neighbor's customers because there's so many. They've got such a crowd around them. And I was like, how did you get? But they were amazing. A really fantastic group of folk and. You're running jokes where they're having to apologise to walk past. They have to say, "Guys, sorry, can I get past to go to the toilet?" And by the end of it, I'm like, the end of the first day, when they're like, "Sorry," I'm like, "You're not sorry." Like I was like, if an apology is like an admission that you've done wrong, but you won't do it again. That's what an apology is. But you keep doing it, so you're clearly not sorry. And she's like, "Yeah, you're right. I'm not sorry. Move," and all this sort of stuff. And but just great. But I was chatting to them afterwards and was like, how did you get on? And they were saying, not that great to be honest. Like, you were really busy the whole time, and they were saying like, our price point's like 50 pence a sticker. So however that comes to like about 60 cents, maybe 60, 70 cents a sticker. So if they're paying the same for their space that we're paying for ours, and I'm shifting a book for about $5-6, and they're having to sell 25 products for the same price.
Yeah.
Oh, fair enough. Actually, yeah. So.
Yeah, stickers are still pretty cool, but they're definitely more of like an upsell as opposed to like a they're not the way you make money. It's the way you make a little extra money. Yeah. Right, like that's definitely a big deal. Like if you sell like a T-shirt, it's like, hey, you want a sticker for $1 because it only costs you 10 cents to make, right? Like that's kind of where you get that extra cash. But if you're only selling stickers, like it's gonna take a long time to get that money back.
Yeah, there's I know a couple people that go to Comic-Con that do Comic-Cons, and when people buy like more than one comic of theirs, let's say like Chuck is selling Belial at a Comic-Con, if people get both of them. There's a third one's coming out on Kickstarter soon. But if like you bought both of them, he would probably have like a sticker and be like, "Oh, here's a sticker," or like air freshener, because I think they have like a hot sauce air freshener or something. They'll just give you that if you buy both. It's just not that doesn't always happen, but sometimes it'll be like, "Oh, I got this," so I'll give you that. So
yeah,
we do that with our stickers. Like
it helps upsell the next one. Yeah, it's like, here's your comic. If you buy the second one, I'll give you a free sticker, and it's like, ooh, a sticker. People love stickers.
Yeah, they do. Also, I think it's a good time. It's a good it's like I don't know, mercy purchase. Would you call it that? Where you've got like I don't have I don't necessarily want to spend a lot of money at your table. However, I want to respect you as an artist. So here's $1.
Mercy
You're like, yeah, here's a sticker. That's fine.
Yeah. That's why it's probably better to, if anything, not really focus on the stickers. The stickers should be the bonus. Like, it's definitely something where like that dollar is cool. Like, you got $1, but if anything, it's going to feel worse if the only thing you sold were your stickers and not your comics. Right. Yeah. So like, that's why I definitely say it's so much better to use it as like an add-on, like a free add-on to upgrade people from 1 to 2 comics, rather than be like, hey, if you can't afford a comic, I guess you can get a sticker. And it's like, oh, here's $1, like you're busking, like you're playing outside, hoping someone will give you some money.
Totally.
That's funny though. Mercy purchase. I haven't heard it said that way, so that's funny.
Oh,
I like that.
I just coined that, or I think I might have coined it. I don't know. Made it up. It's something I've considered as well. When my salesperson, yesterday, so I had at the convention I was at, the guy I was sharing a table with wasn't able to make it. But I had a original plan that my wife has a store quite close to where I was selling my stuff. So normally on a Saturday I'm looking after my son, but we sort of did like co-parenting. Like, so he spent a wee bit of time with me at the comic stall, and then somebody else at the convention would watch my desk for a couple of minutes while I took him to the shop and that, and then he did that and then came back and he met with some of his friends and that. But then ultimately what happened was he enjoyed sitting at the table with me so much that he actually, the whole plan went out the window. But he was my amazing salesman. But then he grabbed a notebook that I had on the table and he was drawing, and he was like, Dad, I'm going to draw a comic for the next table. And actually some of his ideas is amazing. And I was just like looking at him, I'm like, man, like, you could turn that into there was a couple of characters he made up. I was like, you could turn that into a sticker, man. I was like that would, I would quite happily have those stickers on my table and just give you the money. It's maybe like I would just be.
There's actually a cool website. I told Greg about it a while ago. I actually learned about it from an intern we had here at one point. Is this it? No, red.com.
Redbubble.
There it is. Yeah, Redbubble. Yeah, this site here. Yeah, you basically you put in a design, and then people can basically have that design put on anything that they want.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so like, someone makes this design.
I didn't realize that's how it worked. So you just put the design up, and then it's up to them to.
Yeah, so like if I want to go to phone cases, whoever the designer was didn't make a phone case. All they did was maybe upload these images, and now I want them on a phone case, right? So you just look up random stuff. So you can be like, I want, I don't know, pineapples. Are
you a swinger?
Say pineapples. There's a bunch of pineapple designs, and then I can put that on random stuff. Nobody cares.
Greg, is that a code for something? If you've got a pineapple showing you?
Yeah, I saw that on TikTok. I guess if you have a pineapple, I don't know, any sort of pineapple, like a welcome mat that's got a pineapple on it or something, I guess that means you're like a swinger. And I'm like,
that's funny.
That's a thing.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
I know there's
he's like, shit, I better get rid of my pineapple mat outside. No wonder people keep bothering me. But yeah, so like, people make these designs up, and I'm pretty sure you can actually go to the designs and then request them on other things. How do I get to the design? Yeah, you go to like the creator.
Oh, that's cool. Guess what I'm going to be doing this week, lads?
Yeah, but for real, like, if you make random designs, you don't know what to do with them. Why not put them someplace people can like pay you to acquire them? Like, these are cool, like random looking creepy things. But there's people that want these. Like, put them on these skateboards. Actually, these look dope on skateboards. But yeah, so it's definitely something that kind of actually what we were talking about before the call. Like, when people are wondering how to make money online, like, there's an infinite number of ways. The only problem is execution. Like, you just have to go and do it. And then basically whatever effort you put in now, this is from that book I mentioned, I think it was before the call, so I'll show it again, but it's called Fanatical Prospecting by Geoff Blount. And the whole point of this book is about like going out and finding clients fanatically. Like right now, I have so many clients, I don't have any more time to work, and I'm still looking for clients because I don't know, maybe one of those clients doesn't want to work with me anymore. Maybe I don't want to work with them, and I want the ability to drop them and get another one. right? I should always be able to be available for that. And so it's basically in that book, he mentions there's a 60 to 90 day lag time. So whatever effort you put in now, you can expect 60 to 90 days from now for there to be the results. Coincidentally, speaking of, comics and Kickstarters like we were earlier, that's roughly what Greg and I recommend when you're running a Kickstarter. You should be pre-marketing that Kickstarter for 60 to 90 days.
Yeah.
So 2 months is a great window. If you start 2 months before a launch and you slowly start building up to it, and then you launch it and it's only 30 days, right? Oh, they better get it done quick. Right, if it's 15 days, right, if they're really short ones, like was it the quick starter, right, that Greg was talking about. So that's basically the general rule for any form of income earning, whether it's a crowdfunding campaign or it's finding clients for whatever skills you're applying, 60 to 90 days. So yeah, like for me, I think the first month I got one client. It wasn't enough to pay most of the bills. The next month I got another one. The third month I got 3. Right. So like like all of a sudden all that effort like kicked in all at once, and now I have to turn people away. Right. So that's kind of the objective for this.
It's a good problem to have, man.
Yeah, it's an excellent problem. But like that's the whole thing. It's like if you're going to be doing anything, like if it's this, right, you could put up a bunch of stickers today and then not see anything for 3 months, but you give up after 1 month. Where if you just kept putting them a sticker a day every day, right? Actually, this is an excellent one. Speaking of that QR code I was waving in the thing earlier, the place that I got that was from a meetup. This is BeatStars. That's their logo. If you're an artist looking to buy instrumentals to sing or rap over, BeatStars is like the place to go. We have a company called We've Got Beats for that we sell beats online. So we went to this networking event. I got to meet someone. This guy's doing ridiculous. He's earning $20,000 a month, right? That's like some people's annual income, right? Mm-hmm. And this guy, what he did that completely changed everything was he uploaded a new beat every day for like 150 days in a row, right? What is that? That's 5 months, right? And then suddenly he started getting a bunch of traction, right? That's kind of the idea. It's like, whatever you're doing, whether it's, a convention, whether it's selling stickers, whether it's selling comics, you have to be consistent for a longer period of time than you're most likely willing to do in order to get that little, that boost. And that's what most people aren't willing to do. They'll put in this effort, and then what happens is they stop, and then they might get like one sell over here, and like, oh, that's cool, I should put in the effort again. So they put in the effort, but nothing happens because there's this gap where they didn't put in effort, right? Yeah. So they put in this effort, they stop because nothing's happening, then they get another sale. And that's what most like entrepreneurs are. They have this up and down of like, oh, I sold something once, as opposed to like, I sold something, oh my God, I'm at capacity. I have to scale, I have to do something to change. So like, that's kind of the idea.
It's a good one. 150 beats. I can't even think of like 150 songs. Yep. I can't like.
But that's the thing is like if that's your entire thing. Like if you're an artist, for example, like an illustrator, right? Like if you can't draw something new for 150 days, you're not an illustrator.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair.
And this guy's a beat maker. That's what he does. So if he can't make 150 new beats, like he's probably not really a beat maker. And so that's kind of like true for everything. For me, like I consider myself an entrepreneur. Well, guess what? Entrepreneurs have to make a lot of phone calls. They got to connect and network all the time. If I can't do that for 150 days, maybe I'm not an entrepreneur.
Yeah,
right?
That's fair enough.
So, yeah, that's definitely I'll say that's like probably the biggest lesson for anyone in the indie comic space. If you want to be an indie comic creator, artist, whatever it might be, if you can't do it for 150 straight days, think about it, like 10 minutes a day, maybe an hour a day, right? If you can't do that, if you can't post on Instagram once a day, like it's a post on Instagram, you're not like curing cancer every day, right? If you can't do that every day, right, then you might want to rethink whether or not you really, really want it, because there's a difference between the people that have high ambition and high drive, right? Ambition, everyone wants to be the astronaut president, cancer curing doctor, right? Like everyone wants to be that elite person, but not everybody will spend the time to do it.
Yeah, fair enough, man. That's interesting.
Yeah,
that's proper good advice. It's kind of what I went to a really amazing panel hosted by James Tynion last year, and that was kind of what at that point he was making as well. He's like, the difference between the difference between like a budding artist and an artist is content. Yeah, it's that whole thing. It's like you need to be able to just do it.
Like there's. I was gonna say there's like no such thing as writer's block, right? Like if anyone's ever read Stephen Pressfield's the War of Art, so not the art of war, the War of Art. That's a big thing he talks about is like there's this resistance for everyone. The difference is an artist overcomes the resistance, right? A real artist is not a starving artist, because a starving artist is an artist who hasn't figured out how to sell their art, so they're not a professional. Because professionals make money with it.
Do you think that was Van Gogh's problem? Do you think Van Gogh was just a shit salesman?
Yeah. Here, take my ear.
My wife went to his exhibition. He's got a traveling exhibition in the UK, and my wife went to it, and that was the thing. He was saying he only ever sold 2 pieces of art in his lifetime, because like he sold one to his sister and one to his, like he managed to convince his sister's friend. But then like his art's the most beloved like form of amongst the most beloved media ever created. But like obviously the real tragedy of Van Gogh is he was never alive to see the majesty of his vision.
Yeah, and that's like a big thing. Like nobody should want that. Nobody should want to be Van Gogh.
He just couldn't hear people coming. So
totally.
But so like
joke, man.
but like that. But that's like it. That really is the point, though. Like, if you want to be an artist and like have people enjoy your work while you're around, like you need to put yourself out there. And if you only want to draw and you don't want to sell it, then you're a hobbyist. You're not an artist, because an artist is a professional title, right? Like that's how I see it, at least, right? Like there's people that they play on Photoshop but they've never sold anything with it. Well, then it's a hobby. It's not a profession. So that's a good way to look at it. And there's nothing wrong with hobbies.
That's interesting. It's probably one of my favorite takeaways from independent comics in general is that like there's a lot of gatekeeping in just about every hobby. Before I started like really taking comics seriously, I was taking part in professional wrestling, and that was just the biggest turn off for me, apart from like the sort of institutionalized sexism and misogyny, is the gatekeeping aspect. Like folk get like a lot of professional wrestlers get really annoyed that the concept that loads of people that participate are only there, like they're like to me, why are you not like here every night? And I'm like, because I've got kids. Why are you not like putting yourself out there and getting? Why are you not putting yourself out there and trying to get yourself bookings? And it's like, because I can only really wrestle on a Saturday night or a Sunday. I can't do both because then I have childcare duties, and also I want to spend time with my family. And they're like, if you want this, you need to go out there and you need to be like fucking wrestling every night. And you're like, okay, bye then, I suppose. And that whole gatekeeping, then like you have to be all in or all out. You can't be either. Where you can't be both. Whereas in comic creation, it's just this community of folk that are like, yeah, if you like you say yourself, if you want to be recognized and you really, really want to build up like notoriety, you need to put your stuff out there. Also, though, there's a space for you if you want to just bring out a book every second year and like just chat to your comic themed pals. You can do both, and no one's going to hate you for that. No one's going to be like, yeah, you've not had a book out for the last couple of years. What are you doing?
Yeah, I'd say the big difference too, though, is that because this is so true, and we've consulted artists before here for like the music businesses, and like one of the biggest things that we always see are people that like really want it, and then we're like, have you posted a TikTok video every day this week? And every single time it's a no, and it's like, do you really want it? Like, you don't have to do stupid dances, but if you're not even trying to market your own stuff and you're telling me you want to be famous like Kanye, like, what are you, crazy? Like, do you have any idea what he does on a daily basis? I bet like his one day looks more insane than your entire month, right? So like, if you really want to be like the best of the best, like you really have to put yourself out there. And so it's mostly like, there's absolutely room for hobbyists, but don't complain if you're not super successful, because there's plenty of people in the comic book industry that are like, no one's buying my stuff. And it's like, how many people did you show it to? right?
Yeah.
There's 7 billion people on the earth. If all 7 billion haven't seen it yet, and you haven't shown 10 new people today, then you're not trying hard enough. You know what I mean? Like, you could reach out to 10 new people. There's like 17 different social media platforms. There's Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Twitch, right? YouTube, right? There's TikTok. And then there's all these other crazy ones that are popping up, right? They got a bunch of little small ones that are all over the place. There's plenty of space to like find, there's Quora, go weird. Someone's asking questions about comics. Be like, oh yeah, I learned about this thing. And here's one of my comics in case you're curious, be creative.
Fet life. It's like, yeah, I just found your comic link on that. And it's like, you found my QR code on a bra.
Yeah, no, it's definitely. I like the people that are hungry and they actually try to grow. And it's cool to be a hobbyist, but definitely, like, I would say the biggest thing is just don't complain if you still look like a hobbyist.
Totally.
Nice. Look at Greg over there. Greg's zoned out.
No, there's something on my phone.
I think the issue is, like, from what I've gathered, having watched SeerNova, is you got Greg's the straight man, and Dylan, you're the blitherer, and unfortunately, I fill the Dylan role on my podcast, and there shouldn't be two of you on one podcast, otherwise, like, the straight man struggles. He's like, oh, you can say something, and you're like, right, guys, talk about this for 20 minutes.
No, that's funny. Yeah. Greg likes to be like, yes, no, yes, yeah. Yeah. So I know you're running your Kickstarter. So first off, where can people find that?
If you just go the Brewgooders on Kickstarter, I checked this morning. I've got a big link, but it's But if you just go into the Brewgooders, you'll find the Kickstarter. It's an anthology comic full of Scottish creators and or people with links to Scotland, and it's really good. I'm the editor, so I have to say that, but also I've actually been blown away by the quality of some of the work that's been handed in, but we talked at the start of the episode about people having Imposter Syndrome, and actually that's been a big part of the editing process, is just reminding people that their stuff's really good and they're really good, and actually I believe in it, so they have to believe in it because it's great. But yeah, everyone should check out some really good stuff in there.
Yeah, the link is going to be in the description too. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, we'll put it in the description. But one other thing I'd recommend doing, because all I did was just Google Kickstarter Brewgooders, the first thing that comes up is your Twitter feed, but your Twitter feed link just goes to your Facebook page. So you guys should switch that out to your Kickstarter.
Yeah, I don't know how to do that, but I'll certainly try.
Yeah, get somebody to do that. And then the other thing I'd recommend is probably just creating a link tree, and that way you have a universal one, and you just have one account where you switch all the links out.
Okay.
But yeah.
Awesome. Cool.
Nice.
Cool.
Well, thanks for stopping by. What was this episode? 114?
Yeah.
Yeah, episode 114 with the Brewgooders.
Right, thank you so much. I'll speak to you soon.